And today I'm pleased to announce that the man we believe who was responsible for the murder has been indicted. Earlier this morning, an Essex County grand jury indicted John Carey, 63, for the murder in connection with the strangulation death of Claire Gravel of North Andover on June 30th, 1986. He is currently serving a prison term, a sentence at MCI Concord for a 2008 conviction. He will be arraigned on one count of first-degree murder in Salem Superior Court at a later date. On June 30th, 1986, the body of 20-year-old Claire Gravel was discovered in the woods on the northbound side of Route 128 in Beverly, approximately a half a mile before what is now exit 48 near the Beverly-Wenham line. August 7th of this year, Claire would have been 57 years old. An investigation ensued, and police learned that on Saturday, June 29th, 1986, Claire was at Major McLeish's pub in Salem with friends. A friend dropped her off at her apartment on Loring Avenue at approximately 1:30 on Sunday morning. Over the years, investigators have interviewed dozens of witnesses and persons of interest and followed through on every lead and tip they received. A new lead developed in 2012, and assistant district attorneys, state police detectives assigned to the Essex DA's office, and Salem and Beverly police worked diligently to bring about the result we have today. Evidence recovered from Claire's clothing was instrumental in solving this case. Excuse me. And I want to thank everybody here for their tireless and relentless pursuit of justice for Claire. We continually review, we continually review cold cases, hoping that new techniques and a fresh look will result in a breakthrough. We are mindful of the victims and their family members who continue to want answers, and they are not forgotten, and we will pursue those responsible and seek to hold them accountable. Excuse me for my throat. Thank you. Not a good time to have your hay fever kick in. Thanks. Thank you. So, excuse me for that. My office has been in touch with Claire's family. They have expressed relief that the person responsible for Claire's death has been identified. I want to thank Essex Deputy First Assistant Kim Fatella, who's going to be handling lead prosecution in this case, the Essex County District Attorney's Office State Police Detective Unit led by Captain John Costa, lead investigator Lieutenant Robert DeMayo, and Beverly, Salem, and Mass State Police detectives, both current and retired, for the tireless pursuit again of justice for Claire. We continually review cold cases, hoping that new techniques and a fresh look will result in a breakthrough. We are mindful of the victims and their family members who continue to want answers. They are not forgotten, and we will pursue those responsible and seek to hold them accountable at every turn. Thank you. I will answer to the extent that I can any questions you have.
You said that evidence recovered from Claire's clothing was instrumental in solving this case. What was it that ultimately led you to this suspect, John Carey?
We followed the evidence that we had, and this was a relentless pursuit of justice. We were able to be more, we can expand more on what the evidence is once we're in court, in the open court. That's pursuant to the rules. But again, it was the evidence. We developed new evidence as well, which will be disclosed at his arraignment.
Had he been a suspect or person of interest prior to this?
He had been a person of interest, but again, every lead was pursued relentlessly for the past 36 years. And we feel confident based upon the evidence we presented to the grand jury recently, resulting in the return of the indictments today, that we have the right person.
Can you tell us about any relationship between the suspect and the victim? Do you know how they knew each other, or was this a...
We have no, we don't have a motive. We wouldn't speculate on a motive as well. And again, on the arraignment date, there will be evidence and facts that will come out that had not been known previously.
Can you tell us again what he's in prison for now?
He was convicted of an assault to be attempted murder in 2008.
And it was DNA evidence from her clothing that matched him?
I didn't say that. I didn't say it was
You said
DNA.
Evidence that,
I said it was evidence, and we will elaborate on that at the arraignment as we have to, by the rules. So it was physical. It was evidence that brought us to this point today.
and that evidence came out in 2012?
That's correct.
So what took 10 years to get to this?
That will be described at the arraignment. I'm not being evasive. I'm just following the rules. Additional evidence too will be described at that time.
Was there, you said a new lead came out in 2012. Was that new evidence or just new technology that allowed you to test existing evidence?
Again, we will elaborate at what that was at the arraignment. I'm following the rules strictly that we have to follow with respect to the rules of the court. Again, this case was never forgotten. What I can say is that any lead was pursued to the end, and we will elaborate again as to the evidence that we were able to find, or the new evidence, frankly, that we will have on the date that he's arraigned.
You mentioned that she would have been 57 years old. Can you tell us anything about her family at this point? Are both of her parents alive to see that this indictment happened? Anything about them?
She has surviving family members. We've been in touch with the family. I believe she has 2 brothers and a sister who we've been in contact with. Her father is alive. He provided the picture that he carried in his wallet for the 36 years, so the family is aware of it, and they're very gratified.
What was their reaction when they were first informed, the family treated?
Very relieved, very, very grateful that the people arraigned here, who are all involved in this case, never stopped trying to pursue justice for their loved one, Claire, and they were just, again, relieved and gratified. Express their thanks to the persons in this office who spoke to them directly before today's announcement.
And are there any police officers from Beverly still on the force that were involved in this case that many years ago?
There are. There's a captain. Again, Sergeant Bukiri was involved in the case intimately from 2012 up to 2020. Lieutenant DeMayo, who's here, he's been involved as well. Very, very actively involved pursuing justice. And Chief St. Pierre was the chief at the time this happened, and he has talked to me many times in the 20 years that I've been district attorney about this case. It's something that he wanted to see resolved, and that's when I called him yesterday, asked him to come here, and didn't tell him what it was about. I told him this morning. He was extremely relieved. And Chief LaLasha was aware of it. So again, everybody who's here today, and the reason they're here and sitting next to me, have been involved in the case. And this is what we do. We do our best to pursue justice, and we don't forget victims of crime. We do what we can do to help the families get some sense of relief. Thank you.
How many cold cases do you have? Is this maybe the oldest or one of the oldest?
We have, quite frankly, too many cold cases, and it's not the oldest one. We have others that we still pursue that go back to the 70s. So.
Okay. Okay. You can give this to you. All right. And then we're finished with that part. Let's, if you want to ask questions about Lynn, or you can make that statement, and then we can go.
Do you have an update on the investigation into the Lynn murder-suicide?
I do, and again, to the extent that I'm able to speak on that, given this is less than 12 hours old, what we can say at this point in time is that the investigation into the multiple homicides and suicide in Lynn is ongoing. We believe at this time, investigators believe that a 31-year-old woman shot her 66-year-old father, her 34-year-old brother-in-law at 98 Rockaway Street. She then shot and killed a 56-year-old man in his vehicle outside of 44 Layton Street, and this man was her brother-in-law's father. She then took her own life in her vehicle at the parking lot Stop and Shop on Washington Street. We're still making family notifications and interviewing witnesses, which requires a foreign language translator. And because we're, again, still notifying next of kin and getting a translator to speak to someone who is a precipient witness, that's all that we can provide at this time.
Can you confirm that the family's from Afghanistan?
I cannot.
Any motive that you can say at this point that why she would do this?
We don't, again, we don't speculate on motive, and as we're pursuing this investigation, we have 3 crime scenes right now. We'll hopefully come to that we can use as evidence, but again, we do not have a motive yet. What I could say again, which you didn't know until today, was they were family members.
I understand you put a note on Facebook indicating a motive.
I'm sorry, you said I put a note on Facebook?
No, I understand that she put a notice on Facebook indicating a potential motive.
I can't speak to that. I'm not even aware of that.
Do you know of any letter, suicide letter left behind or anything like that?
Not aware of that either. But again, this is an incident that happened less than 12 hours ago, so we have investigators right now at all 3 crime scenes as we speak.